Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great time, and I hope that you're looking to do a lot of things that are fun and musical activities, but I want to bring something to your attention to think about things for just a moment. Instruments can be built out of just about anything. We've been studying some things about the Sachs-Horbostel system, the German system of classifying instruments by the way that they actually make their sound, right? And as part of that, we've been listening to some different instruments from around the world, but also moving on, we're looking at building instrument ourselves to look at possibly how these different instruments produce their sound. Now, one of the things that just about everybody recognizes immediately is a membranophone. Now, remember, think about that for just a minute. Membranophone, membrane, that means a tight skin on top of it. What is a membranophone again? I wonder if I can find some inside the music room. Let's find out. Now, certainly, you've explored just beating the crud out of stuff to make a sound. I know that perhaps you remember our 5-gallon bucket friend here. We used these for bucket drumming. And all you had to do was to tap on the side or top, right? You could even do that with your hands. In this case, it's still a membranophone technically. It's just that the membrane, the skin, is a permanent part of the body. You could make an argument that an idiophone is also possible because technically it's part of the bucket that is being hit in order to make the sound. And it could be any bucket. I mean, shoot. We could go with, one of these big old barrels. And remember, the larger something is, the lower the sound is going to be. Sometimes louder, too. But that's still not quite what I'm looking for as far as making a membranophone. Let's see if maybe we can play around with an idea. Take a look at this. Perhaps you've seen this instrument before. This is what we call the snare drum. Okay? And a snare drum, like a lot of different drums, has some basic parts to it. It has a body, usually a cylindrical body, but it could be other shapes. And in this case, it also has little strings underneath that rattle, little metal strings. You can hear me pushing on them there. Those are the snares. Those give us that special, distinct sound that when we actually hit it, you get that extra rattle. Now, a snare drum doesn't always have that rattle. You can actually manage to flip a switch, if I can find our magical little button. Aha, there we are. And I push it, and it becomes what's called a tom drum. A more hollow sound, okay? Because those little strings are not up against things. Versus the open sound. Now, what makes a drum fun other than just being able to hit the crud out of it? How does it actually work? Drums are membranophones. Remember, membrane is a thin skin, right? Well, in this case, I tilt the drum slightly. You can see that this top of the drum, which we actually call the drum head, is a tightly pulled piece of plastic in this case. In some cases, drums actually literally do use dried animal skins, hence the name, the skin of the drum. If you look on the outside, on the barrel, on that body, you can see there's places where that drum head has been pulled really tight and is held in place by different screws. The skin, the drum head, is our membrane. Just about all drums are going to be some sort of membranophone. Now, there are other membranophones out there as well, kazoo being one of them, because it has a skin like this, but it's inside of it, and you buzz and blow to make that shake. So, not all membranophones have to be drums. Most drums will be membranophones. With that said, what do you think it might take to be able to make a membranophone? Let's find out. All right, so I've spent a little time looking around at things that we have that you would easily have at home, possibly, or in a kit that I've put together for you. And we're going to make a membranophone ourselves out of some common household items. First, we need a soda can. Now, you could use any other type of can as well, but soda cans are lightweight, they're easy to find, they're easy to use. Second, a water bottle. Now, make sure it's a bottled water bottle, not using one of the refillable water bottles, because they're different type of plastic, different weight. We need something that is going to be thin and lightweight, because we're going to do something with it that's going to make our membrane. Those are the two basic components of our instrument, but we also need a few tools in order to be able to put it together. First, a can opener. Second, scissors. And third, perhaps the most challenging in order to be able to find, a heat gun. Now, you could use a very powerful hair dryer. Essentially, that's what a heat gun is. It's a really, really powerful, hot tool. You would not want to dry your hair with this because it is designed to actually do things with removal of paint or drying of wallpaper or other hardware kind of things. These are generally things that if you've done any home improvement things, you might have one that your parents or grandparents have in a toolkit. They're also actually relatively inexpensive at a store. I was able to get this one for, I think, less than $20. But a super powerful hair dryer will also work, which is probably something that you may have easier access to at home. It just will take a little bit longer for the process to work because of the fact that the heat needs time to activate our membrane. As with anything hot, be very, very careful in handling and in the direction that you point it. Now, watch step by step. I have it the camera closer to the table so you can see the different actions. First things first, we need to have an open end on our soda can. Now, I've already snapped off the tab there to keep it safe. And yes, there's an open hole there, and I suppose we could just say, well, this is a drum by itself by tapping it and having a soft sound. But that's not quite what we want to have happen. Take your can opener and sitting the can firmly down on a table, just like you would use to open a can of soup or something, pop it onto the top. Hold it tightly and crank the side around. Oh, you hear that? We got all the way around the outside of our can, and the top fell down inside. We can pull it out, and we can put this portion into the recycle. Be careful of the sharp edges. We don't need this for our instrument. But now, you can see that we have an open top. Hello in there! That we can look down straight into the inside. Now this top is where we're actually going to end up covering things to put our membrane on top. But we still need a place for sound to escape. So, this is where you take your scissors the first time, or you can take a nail or something sharp like that to be able to make a quick puncture on the side. Okay? You want to take it and put a quick, small puncture into the side so there's a place for the sound to escape.
make sure that sharp edges are facing inside and not prying out. This will also, as we're shrinking our top onto it, allow for air and heat to escape so that we don't accidentally crush the can just by the physical forces of the heat and the difference in temperature between the inside and the outside. Right now, go ahead and set this aside. We'll come back to the can in a few minutes. Next thing you need to do, your water bottle. The cap we don't use. Maybe you've recycled it already, put it someplace so that you can use it for something else. The label is also something that we don't use, so we need to get that out of the way. Just snip it, pull it free. Make sure that it finds a garbage can later. Now I need you to make this so that we only have the center round. So to do that, we're going to go to this top rib, the top ring around here on the bottle, and we're going to snip a hole that we can put our scissors into and cut following that line of that rib all the way around to cut off the top. You can save this to use as a funnel or use it for another project, or you can just recycle it. Now we have an open top. We need to do the same thing along the bottom edge. If you look carefully, you can see that there is a line along the bottom edge as well. So you need to snip a hole and cut the bottom off so that we have an open cylinder. You see? Top and bottom, totally gone. I could stick my fingers straight through if I wanted to, but I don't. Now, here's the part where it gets a little bit trickier for you. Slice a straight line up the side, on one side, and pull this apart. You're going to get a lot of crinkly sound. You may want to set it flat on the table to be able to pop it a little bit. And you want to pop those ribs to make it as flat as possible so that we have a flat sheet of plastic. After you have done that, pick up your scissors again, and you're going to round the edges off on this piece of plastic and make a very large oval or circle. It has to be many, many times larger than our soda can top. You notice if I put it on top there, that it is very much larger. I'd say it's probably about twice as big around. That's going to become important because we're actually going to use heat to shrink this to the top of the can. If any of you have ever seen the Shrinky Dinks toys that you color in and you put them in the oven and they just shrivel up to make a real small hard plastic, basically the same kind of principle. We're using this kind of plastic to be able to make our membrane. So cut it carefully, cut that circle or oval. It doesn't have to be exact, but it does have to be larger than the top of the bottle, of the pop can. Final step. And this is the one where you have to be careful because the heat gun comes involved. Remember, we do not want to burn ourselves on this. In class, if we're building it together, the teacher will be handling this, not the students. At home, if you are using a hairdryer or something, it is probably still a good idea to talk to your parents and have them there with you. Now, I'm going to set my plastic flat on a table. You need a hard surface that will not be damaged by the heat. Okay, so make sure it's not plastic topped, not something that's going to melt. We don't want to accidentally start a fire or cause something that's nauseous, something that makes people cough. Okay? Take your pop can and turn it over so the open side is down on top. And in the center, of the plastic that you just put down on the table. And now, we're going to actually turn on the heat gun. You hear that? That's it getting ready to work. Leave it warm up for just a second. Remember, aim it away from you and others to give it a chance to heat up. Then, when it is time, when you've given it a little bit of time to heat up, the magic can start. That you aim it at our plastic. And you can watch and see in real time how the plastic is starting to curl up and get on top of the pop can. Notice that I'm spinning the pop can around in order to give it the chance to fasten all the way around. You want it to be a nice, even seal. We'll give it just a second to cool, because the plastic will take on the heat that's aimed at it. Pick it up carefully, and you can see, if you look at the edges, how it has sealed itself to the top of the lip of that pop can. But we still have the ribs on the top here, right? Be very careful and quick with this part. In order to smooth that out, to have a nice smooth membrane on our membranophone, a nice smooth drum head, just lightly and for a short time, put the heat on in short increments on it. And you can see that it tightened up. And now you have a completed homemade soda can drum, a membranophone that you can tap with something in order to make a sound. Let's try building one, see what kind of fun you have, and show me what you are able to do with it. Building instruments is fun, but remember, keep things safe. As I said earlier, this particular project involves the use of something that is hot, so take the proper precautions to make sure that you and others around you are safe and do not get burned. Adults should be the ones handling that equipment if at all possible. Have a little bit of fun with this and make your own membranophones that you can share with your family, your friends. Maybe put together a soda can band where you use cans of different sizes. Who knows? The possibilities are as endless as your imagination.